Pumpkin Jack reminds me of the early 2000s era of video games, a time where completely random mascots would get their own 3D platformers, especially during the holidays where games would just cash in on being themed around that time. Pumpkin Jack has a lot of those elements but doesn't feel like a cash grab. It holds its ground as a solid, fun new indie that perfectly fits into this holiday season. It's refreshing. Though it's not shovelware, its story isn't all that fleshed out. Pumpkin Jack starts with a war between the devil and a king. The devil sends a curse to a king's kingdom, and in its wake, monsters fall upon the residents of the kingdom, causing chaos left and right. In response, the king unleashes his wizard to defend his people, and in response to that, the devil releases Jack. It's not a riveting story, nor will it captivate you. Instead, it provides a setting for the spooky themed nature of the game, and for something that's targeting a classic action platformer, that's fine. While its story may not be the best out there, its gameplay does more of the heavy lifting. By all means, it's a solid foundation, nothing that really blew me away, but nothing terrible either. Pumpkin Jack is a third-person action platformer, think Medieval meets Jak and Daxter. This 6-hour campaign has Jak traveling through the remains of this now destructive kingdom like something out of a Halloween cartoon special. Each of the 6 levels tackles a holiday theme, and ultimately that's one of the most charming parts of Pumpkin Jack. The world building here is charming, and ultimately it was the thing that got me to gravitate towards finishing the game. I love seeing the take on Halloween here, and it didn't feel cheap or phoned in at all. As for the gameplay itself, Jak isn't the most well-equipped protagonist, but he can hold his ground. He can double jump, letting him perform pretty forgiving aerial moves when platforming through the kingdom, and there's quite a few platforming to do. Every level has Jak take on enemies, platform his way around obstacles, solve puzzles, and take on a boss. It's a formulaic approach to its level design, that of which is open but also linear, usually having you go from point A to B. There are some attempts to keep things varied with touches of new platforming segments and on-rail segments that do feel different, but don't keep repetition out of the campaign. As for combat, Jak gets a new item every level, an attempt to flesh out his combat, and though it does introduce new weapons, most battles boil down to mashing down the attack button. While enemies tend to crowd around you, leaving you to spam the attack button, bosses at least change up their approach to attacks. They're more on the traditional side of having their own patterns that at least feel refreshing when compared to the rest of the game. Pumpkin Jack has a lovely art style that continues its trend of looking like a modern take of a retro PS2 platformer. It isn't the most demanding looking video game, but it does take advantage of modern technology like RTX if your PC setup supports it. I played my review experience both on PC and Nintendo Switch, with the former being my main playthrough. The performance was fine on PC, running at a solid 1080-60 with max settings on a GTX 1060 and an i7 4790K. As for Nintendo Switch, the performance is stable, but the visuals do look fuzzier overall. Nintendo Switch in dock mode runs at what looks like 900p 30fps, with handheld mode running at a softer looking resolution, possibly sub 720p. Even some of the world design got toned down a bit. The grass in this area, for example, is completely missing on the Switch. It's playable on Switch from a stable standpoint, it just loses some of its atmospheric tones, which honestly is the living grace of this game. When it comes to audio, Pumpkin Jack does a good job at creating an atmosphere of spooky themed locations. Subtle touches of boots stomping on the dirt while Jak runs, the eerie creaking coming from platforms spinning around it, to the atmospheric wildlife. It all screams Halloween. Even the music that's a bit on the ambient slow paced side helps create this feeling of uneasiness but curiosity. It's not scary, but certainly in the theme of Halloween. Like I said before, that's for sure the best thing Pumpkin Jack nails in this presentation, and that's no different with its sound design. Pumpkin Jack isn't the next best indie game, nor is it a terrible one. It's just solid, it's good. Especially for a game made by a single developer, not including the support of porting it to other platforms, Pumpkin Jack is a great attempt at capturing some Halloween fun. At its $23.99 entry price tag, it seems like an enjoyable time for anyone just trying to get into the Halloween spirit, especially if you were a fan of that PS2, Xbox, GameCube era of platformers. Thank you all very much for watching this review. If you found it useful or informative, then be sure to give it a like, maybe subscribe if you want to be kept up to date with more reviews from my channel. If you'd like to connect with me, all my social channels are in the description, and stay tuned because I might be live streaming soon. Wink wink. See you guys in the next one.